Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Today is date June 22nd, 2022, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. On How the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before we get started, guys, let you know that we are a family-friendly podcast, as we try to be. So sometimes we do watch our words, sometimes words do fly. At the same time, guys, maybe things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, aside, if you're anywhere on the U.S. and being on God's hot plate right now, if you're like me and just trying to stay completely cool as humanly possible, a lot's happened. At first, I have to start with the Supreme Court. I have to start with the Supreme Court because, number one, being the highest court in the land means that they have a lot of chances to make history with landmark cases. We see it throughout the years. We've seen it with abortion. We've seen it with civil rights. We've seen it with women's rights. We've seen it with slavery. We've seen it with a multitude of things. And there's been a history of cases that can do that. That being said, however, the Supreme Court, albeit overly conservative right now, concerns me with their latest ruling. What they have actually done and said that out of a case out of Maine that sat there and said, and they ruled that religious schools in Maine cannot be exempt from tuition assistance programs. Yes, you heard that right. Religious schools in Maine cannot be excluded from tuition assistance programs. They did rule this as of today that Maine cannot exclude religious schools from a tuition assistance program that allows parents to use vouchers to send their children to public or private schools. Of course, it's a 6-3 ruling with all six conservative judges ruling in favor of this. The 3 liberals ruling against it is a sign that, well, this is a terrible sign of things to come. Keep in mind that, for the simple fact of the matter, guys, this is the reason why church and state was separated. For me, I don't like religious schools. I don't. I personally believe that religious schools really serve as a purpose just for money grubbing, or for private school. It's like for those who want school and religion and combine them. Okay, fine. That's what you want. What rocks your boat? Cool. That's for you. For me, I would rather not send my school. I would not send my child or children to a school where I'm paying tuition for them to read the Bible. They can literally do that at home. I sent them there for a proper education, not for them to do something that I could do for free at home. That being said, however, religious schools across the states never really, because of the fact that they are employing a said religion, that it does exclude them from state funds. Now, of course, Maine does allow actual vouchers that parents can use because, some conservatives believe that you should be able to send your child anywhere, and that bump public education, you want all about choice. In a perfect world, that would be great, but the funds that you're taking to give these people vouchers is the funds that you're taking away from public education. That's all I'm saying. But however, the scary thing about this is that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of a conservative opinion. That should be alarming because the Supreme Court is supposed to rule in honor of by honoring the Constitution. Their argument is that religious schools should be included just because they are public areas of institution. The problem with that is you're still taking away from public education, which, by the way, has no denomination or no religious institution whatsoever. So again, this is one of those things where I keep on saying the entire time. It's like, why above all else is this allowed? Well, as I've been saying multiple times, this is the dangers of a conservative court. Even more so that keep in mind that very same overly conservative Supreme Court still has, by my count, four opinions they're giving on cases. One about abortion, one about gun control, and the other 2, which will eventually be down the line. But what's scary about this is where it can go, as explained in this next clip.
to release several decisions today as we await major rulings on cases involving abortion, gun rights, immigration, and efforts to fight climate change. Climate change, that is. Senior national correspondent Terry Moran is in Washington with the latest on all of that. Terry, we don't know if this will come down today, but one of the biggest decisions we're waiting on is that case involving abortion. The leaked draft opinion last month showed the Supreme Court may be preparing to overturn Roe v. Wade. So break this down for us. What are you looking out for?
Diane, this is the big one. This is the big one, not just for this term, but for the past half century. For more than 50 years, conservative Christian Republicans have been driving for this moment, and pro-choice advocates have been fearing it. And it looks like from that draft opinion, the Supreme Court is ready to overturn Roe versus Wade and return the issue of abortion to the states. What I'm looking for is really how far the court will go. That leaked draft opinion by Justice Samuel Alito was very strong, not just in castigating Roe, but in castigating a whole series of opinions that guarantee all kinds of rights, including, for example, the constitutional right to marry whom you choose if you're a gay person, and other rights that rest on the same foundation of individual liberty and privacy that Roe does. Will the court go that far? There is some talk that maybe Alito, who that draft opinion suggested was writing for a majority of the court, might have lost his majority, and the court won't go that far. But based on what we heard in oral arguments, it does seem to me that the court at that time was looking not for whether or not to overturn Roe versus Wade, but how they might do it. So now the question is, will they do it Alito's way or a softer way?
Now, Terry, we're also awaiting a major decision on gun rights and the ability to carry a concealed loaded gun in public. What are the key points in that case?
Well, this is a case that comes out of New York, Diane, and New York has one of the most restrictive gun laws in the country, especially when it comes to carrying a weapon outside the home. It is under New York law, not a given, obviously. You need a permit, and that permit means you have to demonstrate a special need for self-protection that's different than the rest of the citizenry of New York, and can't just be kind of a generalized concern about danger. You have to prove that you are in danger. And the court looked very, very sourly at that. The question in this case is, will they nationalize? Will everyone in every place in America have a right to carry a concealed weapon? That case could come down as early as today.
So, the simple fact of the matter is, that's right, you conservatives and homosexuals. You may get the wild, wild west that you dreamed of, that you watch Wyatt Earp and Tombstone and all those other westerns, and hope to God you can do the same thing. The rest of us are cringing. But at the same time, how could you blame them? How could you blame folks when you're seeing a shooting happening almost every other day, where you see somebody who shouldn't have a gun at a picnic, at a school, at a church function, at anything? And for the simple fact of the matter is, they have the ability to hurt and kill someone because they have a gun. That is the argument. And I can't. And for those that want to defend themselves, it's a little hard to sit there and say, no, you can't carry. Because it comes down to who should carry and who should not. Which, again, goes back into the whole gun debate, which you guys have heard me say plenty of times here on this podcast. That, yes, gun reform is needed. As a firearms owner, gun laws are definitely needing to be updated. Gun reform is definitely needed. We do need to have mandates. We do need to have requirements. We do need to change the way we look at guns in order to make sure that we are doing our best to prevent mass shootings. I completely agree with that. But again, this goes back to Supreme Court. Those two cases right there, I know there's other cases that are coming along, but those two off the bat, that abortion, which again, we've talked about many times on here, where, for a lot of people who don't believe abortion shouldn't happen, don't get one. It's that simple. I will always say a woman's body is her own fucking business. So why should we care about what she does? If she chooses to have an abortion, cool. That's on her. The choice and consequences are on her. Don't hurt me. But what about the baby? The baby is on her conscience. If she decides to end that life, that's on her conscience, not yours. Which again, those are the same people who believe they are morally superior to others, want to force the way they live on others because they know better. Most of the time they're Christians. But the point I'm making out of that is, going back to Supreme Court, an overly conservative Supreme Court will always, always, always be a dangerous thing. because a 6-3, keep in mind, 6 conservatives, 3 liberals. And I've been saying the whole entire time, I would prefer it if it was even. An even balanced court. 6 conservatives, 6 progressives / liberals. I got no issue with that. You know why? It's a balance, much like Jedi. There are two Jedis for every Sith. So again, I'll go one better. When someone said, well, because the Supreme Court doesn't always have to be 9. You can pack that son of a bitch to about 20, actually. What you would think, concerning the caseload these people get, I don't understand why we don't have a packed Supreme Court. I don't understand the dangers of it. The Democrats could have sat there and packed the Supreme Court all they wanted to. All they had to do was organize and do it. That's the part I don't understand. Because I would much rather have a progressively leaning Supreme Court than a conservative one. Because if history tells us anything that's overly conservative is dangerous and detrimental to the American people. We have a history of it. That's all I'm saying. But moving right along, guys, the Texas the DPS chief for Texas, Uvalde, has given his answer on the Uvalde mass shooting, and it does not paint the officers there in a very positive light, as it really shouldn't.
Texas Public Safety Director Steve McGraw is testifying in front of a state Senate committee, blasting the local police in Uvalde for failing to act for over an hour as a gunman murdered 19 children and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School.
There's compelling evidence that the law enforcement response to the attack at Robb Elementary was an abject failure and antithetical to everything we've learned over the last 2 decades since the Columbine massacre. 3 minutes after the subject entered the West Building, there was a sufficient number of armed officers wearing body armor to isolate, distract, and neutralize the subject. The only thing stopping a hallway of dedicated officers from entering room 111 and 112 was the on-scene commander, who decided to place the lives of officers before the lives of children. The officers had weapons, the children had none. The officers had body armor, the children had none. The officers had training, the subject had none. 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 8 seconds. That's how long the children waited and the teachers waited in rooms 111 to be rescued.
Colonel McGraw, and he's the head of Texas DPS, is going through a second-by-second account of what happened on that day. Now, this is the latest, the most up-to-date timeline that Texas DPS has presented to the public. But Colonel McGraw also mentioned at the very top of his remarks that the investigation is not complete. So we have to take all of this with a grain of salt. As we know from covering this story from the beginning, the story has changed multiple times. Hopefully this time they've got it right. According to what Colonel McGraw has been testifying so far, officers did not approach the door, did not try to get into that classroom. Instead, what happened is law enforcement officers are either in the hallway or outside with weapons, with shields, and the timeline of when those shields come in, they start at 19 minutes and then more shields arrive. Point of the matter is that there was a long wait, and Colonel McGraw paints it like this. Take a listen.
And while they waited, the on-scene commander waited for a radio and rifles. Then he waited for shields. Then he waited for SWAT. Lastly, he waited for a key that was never needed. The post-Columbine doctrine is clear and compelling and unambiguous. Stop the killing, stop the dying.
So literally and figuratively, guys, when it comes down to it, so the report pretty much says, and like I said before, it does not paint Uvalde officers in a very positive light. But the simple fact of the matter, guys, it's the whole idea of, so they could have went in at any time. I mean, you waited for SWAT, you waited for shields, you waited for gear. and you waited for a key that was not needed. That part right there. So you're telling me that they could have went in at any time? These so-called good guys with guns could have gone into a school at any time against one gunman who literally had the school to himself like fish in a barrel, and they waited outside. For also, what they also didn't mention is that the commander did actually testify behind closed doors. Why is honestly beyond me? Why does he get to testify behind closed doors? Because he made the decision not to go in. He made the decision that ultimately cost more lives. He made the decision to say, well, the doors are locked, we're waiting for a key. I remember if officers wanted to get into a building, they didn't wait for keys. They found ways in. And you're going to sit there and tell me that this gunman was able to get in, and now you got officers saying, oh, well, we're waiting. I can see why the superintendent, I can see why the commander and the superintendent for that law enforcement is mighty quiet right now, because they not only could they lose their jobs, they could actually be brought up on criminal charges. Imagine you as a parent of any of those lost children, and you just found out that the officers could have went in but didn't. Nothing, and not the fact that there was a locked door. Nothing prevented them from going in. As a parent of a lost child, there would be no words. But again, we'll see what happens, because that was the DPS chief giving his report that single-handedly says that not only is the commander involved, but all those officers that are outside all have those lost children's blood on their hands. So we will see what happens next at this report. But honestly, there are going to be some jobs that are going to be lost, as well as, if I was a prosecutor, you can bring up criminal charges. You are criminally negligent. And trust and believe those parents will bring up wrongful death lawsuits. That police department is going to get a serious overhaul. That's all I'm saying. So, of course, guys, as we move along, we are getting near the end of June. While we are in the official days of summer. Yay for all you summer babies. I'd rather bring the winter. That being said, gas prices are not going down not going down anytime soon, but they are going up.
Price of gas in this country, the national average is now $4.91 a gallon, up 5 cents in 24 hours and 61 cents in just a month. What's driving this surge? And there is at least one thing that you can do to save as much as $1 a gallon. Victor Akendo reports.
Tonight, gas prices rising at a pace that's stunning the experts.
We are now over a week of basically setting records every hour or so as gas prices continue to climb.
And drivers.
I honestly don't look anymore. I don't have a choice.
AAA says more than a quarter of the country, 13 states and Washington, D.C., have crossed the $5 a gallon threshold. Maine, Massachusetts, and New Jersey added to the growing list today.
I'm traveling to see family, so you got to do what you got to do. The other thing is, I have a car that only takes premium gas.
Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan seeing surges of nearly 50 cents in the past week.
It's terrible. Because I was like, people going to start quitting their jobs.
Commercial landscaper Timothy London says he's spending $1,500 a month more on gas than last year. One of his biggest accounts, a chain of gas stations.
Since I have big contracts with Speedway gas stations, it's like paying them back. They pay me to pay them back.
He's already had to lay off an employee. Now he's swapping out his gas-powered gear for electric, like this mower.
And now I can hire again and still save money.
Because you're going to be going
electric, yes.
The big question now, when will it end?
This overall era of high prices could stick around for several years.
Victor Akendo joins us now. And Victor, with these gas prices just at these astronomical highs, any tips for trying to make that tank last a little bit longer?
Lindsay, one tip, just slow down. According to the Department of Energy, at speeds above 50 miles per hour, you burn more gas faster. For each 5 miles per hour above 50 miles per hour, that's like paying an additional 32 cents a gallon. Lindsay?
Helpful tip there. All right.
So the one thing that always bothered me is that, yes, gas prices are going up. And I understand from a lot of consumer standpoints, nothing you can really do about it. Our cars are vital. For us to get to where we want to get to in a timely manner, and the fact that the convenience of it, and the fact that We're just trying to for a lot of us, get by as best we can. I understand. You can't really complain about the price of gas. But again, I've always sit there and said this, that all the oil companies are having record profits, but not pumping. They're not pumping anymore. I said before, not a month ago, the CEOs of all the major oil companies, Exxon, Shell, Citgo, not 7-Eleven. I know I'm missing one. Somewhere. But all of them got put in front of Congress and said, why aren't you guys pumping more? You know what every CEO did? Make us. Because they know there's nothing out there preventing them. If Exxon decided today to drill and produce half of the gas that's going on right now, people will still buy. You want to know why? We need it. It is a necessary additive for our cars. And Exxon knows that. Just like if Shell. Again, they know that. There's nothing preventing them. There is nothing legal, nothing taxing that prevents them. If the CEO of each of these oil companies woke up tomorrow and said, cut production down to half, nothing stops them from doing that. Not an amount of Congress, not even the president himself could stop that. Even though he turned around there and says, well, you guys need to start drilling more, which the U.S. as a whole has allowed more drilling. They have allowed more drilling at any given time than Trump, if you can believe it or not. But the thing about it is, though, oil, this is why they're saying we are such a capitalistic country. If you're like, well, it's the war on Russia. Russia is the number 2 producer of oil. Yes. Iraq is the first one. The Saudis right now are loving it because the majority of their oil goes to us and goes to other countries. Russia, again, number 2 producer of oil. We used to use 8% of Russia's energy. Now we don't anymore. It goes somewhere. But even with that being said, gas prices were already high. And yes, they will remain high. And it's not because of the war on Russia. The war on Russia has nothing to do with us and our gas prices being high. You want to know why gas prices are high? And I have to tell this to people all the time because they believe the president controls gas prices. He doesn't. You know who does control gas prices? OPEC. You know who also controls gas prices? Oil companies. Because they base it on the price of crude oil. They base it if the price on a single barrel of crude oil is high, everything goes up because they pass those savings on to you, the consumer, because they still got to make profits. It's the same way like most grocery stores right now. Fruit is amazing like this. Fruit and everything healthy for you skyrockets. Junk food and everything else stays the same. You ever wonder that? Why does the cost of fruit? This is why people started growing plants and vegetables in their backyards and in sometimes apartments like mine. Why do you think they do that? Because again, no one is stopping the price of produce going up, especially in food deserts. I mean, if you go to your local grocery store right now, and depending on where you are, if you're not near a produce area or a farmer's market or a local swap, if you're not in any of those areas, prices at modern day chain grocery stores skyrockets. See how much you pay for apples, for oranges, for pears, for squashes, for tomatoes, for plums. Go down the line. All those prices increase. The same way with oil. They control the market. They control the prices. Congress will not institute a windfall profits tax for reasons beyond my comprehension. So unfortunately, we will literally and figuratively be stuck with high gas prices. But all we can do is pay it, because until we start actually embracing electrical vehicles outside of Tesla and really start that kind of production and really start getting a renewable green energy source out there, we'll be stuck on dinosaur juice until then. Sad to say. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this because the January 6th hearing is still going on, and I tell everybody, you should watch. You should watch. I cannot say that enough, that you need to watch. Not because the Democrats are trying to make a witch hunt, as Donald Trump likes to say it, but again, the Democrats want it to be heard and televised. And yes, is it partly for political points? Yes, you want to prove that, hey, the other side is trying to undermine the midterm election that we're 3 months and counting away from. Donald Trump is trying to groom his spot because he hopes to God he is still not in jail by 2024 so he can run for president again. He is grooming his base to vote for those he believes in power because he wants to get back to the White House. The fact that he got in is amazing to me. But this is what Democrats are doing. Even more so, they finally explain, and I keep on saying this, why Donald Trump is responsible.
Sixth committee today outlining a scheme they say began well before the attack on the Capitol, pressuring key state officials to find Trump votes or send fake pro-Trump electors to Washington from states Joe Biden won.
Anyone who got in the way of Donald Trump's continued hold on power after he lost the election was the subject of a dangerous and escalating campaign of pressure.
Republican officials in Pennsylvania and Michigan describing the aggressive push from Trump allies to intervene.
All of my personal information was doxed online.
All I remember is receiving just shy of 4,000 text messages over a short period of time, calling to take action.
Arizona's Republican pro-Trump House Speaker Rusty Bowers testifying that repeated calls and visits with Rudy Giuliani and other Trump lawyers produced no evidence of election fraud in his state.
My recollection, he said, we've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence.
Bowers growing emotional as he described what he felt was an effort to convince him to support Mr. Trump's claims anyway and ignore his oath to the Constitution.
And so for me to do that because somebody just asked me to is foreign to my very being. I will not do it.
Prior to the hearing, Mr. Trump posting on social media, calling Bowers, quote, the latest rhino to play along with the unselect committee, and saying Bowers told him the election was rigged.
Anywhere, anyone, anytime has said that I said the election was rigged, that would not be true.
The committee also questioning Georgia's top election officials, including about this recorded phone call from January 2nd between Mr. Trump and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
There were no votes to find. That was an accurate count that had been certified.
And a former Georgia election worker and her mother caught up in a bogus conspiracy theory about illegal votes, attacked by Mr. Trump on the same call.
There is nowhere I feel safe. Nowhere. Do you know how it feels to have the president of the United States to target you? But he targeted me, Lady Ruby.
Garrett joins me now. Garrett, what can we expect to hear in the next hearing on Thursday?
Well, Lester, it will focus on what the committee says is Mr. Trump's effort to use the Department of Justice to overturn the election results, with several top former DOJ officials set to testify. The committee hasn't announced anything beyond that.
And Garrett, there is some movement on the Senate's bipartisan gun bill. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right, Lester. The bill just introduced in the Senate with the first procedural vote expected as early as tonight, and a final vote could come as early as the end of this week. The bill would incentivize states to create red flag laws, increase penalties for gun traffickers, enhance background checks for gun buyers under 21, and close the so-called boyfriend loophole. It also increases funding for mental health care and is expected to draw enough Republican votes to pass. Lester.
No offense, I'll believe it when I see it. I really will believe it when I see it. But the one thing I did want to point out was this was the current bill right now that's being pushed out there. And I just wanted to review this for a second really quick. Simple fact of the matter is you're incentivizing to pass, I think this is the part that bothers me right there. Incentivize states to pass red flag laws. What's the incentive? Because to me, that seems money is getting passed. I think that's the only way you got that's why you got conservatives in the GOP to come to the table, because let's be honest, money makes everything go round. And I never thought I have to say this, but why do you have to incentivize states to pass red flag laws? That should kind of be a given. Increase penalties for gun traffickers. I got nothing against that. You should. Enhance background checks for gun buyers under 21. That's compromise. The reason why I say that is because it doesn't say universal. Keep in mind, universal background checks are only being done at commercial sales. which means if you're buying your gun from Academy, from Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, or any other gun store that has an FFL license, that's where background checks are being done. As far as private sales, as far as sales at gun, knife, and trade shows, background checks are not being done. That's not doing enough. Closes the so-called boyfriend loophole. Again, I get that. I completely agree with that. I have no issue with that. But this is probably the lightest gun bill that could possibly pass because it's still not doing enough. It still does not take away high capacity carrying rounds, high capacity magazines. It still does not it doesn't increase the age from 18 to 21, but you're doing enhanced background checks, which again, it's not doing enough. The age needs to be jumped from 18 to 21. At the same time, yes, there needs to be a national registry. There needs to be a paperwork trail. There needs to be a redefinition of ghost guns, which again, not on this list. So yeah, I get the fact that this is an attempt, but just like Obamacare, the problem is the attempt is still lacking. So yes, I get it. We are needing other things done, but at the same time, it's scary for the simple fact of the matter that we're still in the same area that we once started. And then keep in mind, we just got through talking about Trump, right? Well, again, this is the reason why it's so dangerous. Not because of the laws being written, things of that nature, but because you got people like this idiot doing these types of commercials. And trust me, I wish I could make this up.
Let's take a look.
I'm Eric Greitens, Navy SEAL, and today we're going rhino hunting. The rhino feeds on corruption and is marked by the stripes of cowardice. Join the MAGA crew. Get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save our country.
Holy shit. I mean, yes, rhino. By the way, I wanted to cover that for a second. Rhino is basically Republican in name only. Trump has started to use buzzwords again because, MAGA was successful, so why not rhino? And trust me, the merch is probably coming. But yes, that individual decided to basically release that campaign because he's running for Senate and looking and hunting for rhinos, which you would think right now, with the optics of this country, do you really want to show yourself as a gun-toting homosexual looking for people and breaking into homes with oppressive force? I'm just saying it's not the best look. That's all I'm saying. But again, it's conservatives. Conservatives love God's guns and beer, and probably bacon. But I'm not gonna put bacon in them. I mean, bacon deserves better. But this is the point I'm making out of all this. It's just that that's Trump in a nutshell. This is what he does, and we shouldn't be surprised by it. And the fact that he still has a legion of people that follow him like a cult. I have been saying this. Those that are trying to climb up the conservative political ladder are hitching their wagons to Trump. Because as long as Trump is out and unfortunately not incarcerated, yeah, there is a chance that he can always come back to the White House if enough idiots vote for him. But as I've said before, Democrats are going to have a harder time than Republicans trying to convince voters to vote because of not a lot of wins in the win column. All Republicans have to do is convince idiots with a short case of amnesia. Just saying. But there's a reason why gun laws need to change. Gun laws need to change, especially for this case of sovereign citizens. In this case, sovereign citizens were arrested in California after they find explosives. 3 people claimed to be sovereign citizens were arrested after live ammunition and explosives were found in a vehicle they were driving to their remote compound. Once at the remote compound, they found a crap load of ammunition, firearms, and explosives. Now, the reason why they call themselves sovereign citizens is because they see themselves as free citizens, not bound by the United States, which again is always fun. It's always funny when people say, I'm a sovereign citizen. Okay, then you're not an American. We don't treat you like one. I mean, that's the thing I've always sat there and said. Whenever someone says they're a sovereign citizen, I'm like, okay, so that means that you do not you consider yourself exempt from U.S. law. Okay, cool. So you don't consider yourself a U.S. citizen. Awesome. We can treat you harshly. and you can't say a word. I mean, every time I hear that's like, oh, I'm a sovereign citizen. Oh, don't worry, you'll get treated with all the respect of a terrorist, because that's what most of them are anyway. But that's what I'm sitting there saying about gun laws. If individuals like that can amass a deadly amount of weapons, I don't even want to think about what they could do if left to their own devices. Which obviously at this point means they can get a remote compound stocked with guns, ammo, and enough explosives to siege a small city. But I digress. But there are some good news we want to get to. I know we usually have a feel good news segment, but again, these next couple stories might as well be good news because again, I think this is great. First, we'll start with college because this one college is doing something I never thought I would see a college do, aside from forgiving student loan debt. Dartmouth College is eliminating student loans and replacing them with scholarships. They are removing the loan requirement for undergraduates for families with annual incomes of more than $125,000 who receive need-based financial aid. So, what does that mean? That basically means that actually means that the simple fact of the matter is that they're removing the loan requirement for undergraduates. This will decrease the debt burden for hundreds of middle-income Dart students and their families by an average of $22,000 over 4 years. Now, that's great, and I have no issue with that because I like colleges that do that because, again, I have been saying this for the longest time. Student loan debt is the number one reason why a lot of people are not homeowners, why a lot of people are struggling to get their credit rates up, or a lot of people who are just simply trying to make better ways. But because the fact that banks are still allowed to give ridiculous requirements and rates for student loans, that a lot of people that took those student loans are still now paying them back 20 years later. So I like the fact that some colleges, even Dartmouth, is actually starting to actually recognize that and is trying to level the burden. Aside from Joe Biden, who y'all do us a favor and just totally forget student loan debt and therefore ensure that Democrats actually have another term. Just saying, Joe, eliminate student debt, legalize marijuana, lane slides. That's all I'm saying. But the next story I got, guys, again, unions. I keep on talking about unions because number one, unions work. And Apple in an Apple store actually has just declared, and after a vote, has finally become unionized.
Inside Towson Town Center, Apple Store employees made history. This group is the first in the country to unionize. Out of 110 workers eligible to vote, 65 said yes to unionize and 33 said no.
I want to give a huge shout out to Atlanta because they prepared us for a lot of this stuff that they were going to do. So that helped us a lot.
The group named their union the Coalition of Organized Retail Employees, or CORE. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers helped make it happen.
We're literally the face of Apple. How is it fair that we are being dictated as to what to do, what to say, how to act, but we don't get any say in any of the things that are happening in our everyday lives?
In May, the group sent a letter to Apple CEO Tim Cook informing him of the support from a solid majority of coworkers, adding that their team wants more rights to information and collective bargaining. Towson employees say they also deserve more of a voice when it comes to COVID-19 safety.
A lot of the response that we've gotten from the company is what I was calling fear-mongering.
It's part of a national wave of pandemic-related labor activism. In April, Starbucks employees on North Charles Street in Baltimore City became the first in the state of Maryland to unionize. This group says they won't be the last.
But don't be scared, because it's scary, and that's okay. But don't be. Realize that if we can do it, you can do it.
So again, I thought that was pretty cool, guys, just for the simple fact of the matter that yes, an Apple store in Maryland has just unionized, and I have been saying this, that there seems to be this renaissance of unionization happening, and I am completely happy about that. Why? Unions work. Without unions, you wouldn't have a 40-hour work week. Without unions, you wouldn't have paid time off. Without unions, you would not have health benefits. All that came from unions. So do not believe when the rich people or the corporation come by and say you don't need unions. You can negotiate directly with me. That's a sucker tactic. Don't be surprised these corporations and these rich folks incorporate offices and I like to call them think tanks that will come say, well, we're not union busting. We're just telling you guys the reasons why you shouldn't do it. Amazon and others spend billions of dollars in those type of practices to keep people from forming unions. Why? Because unions hold corporations and hold rich people accountable. If you are in union, even though it's even factual, those who are unionized earn more than non-unionized workers. And I've told you guys my Dell story this whole entire time. And if Michael Adele ever sees this podcast, I dare him to call me a liar, because his minions have made it hard to unionize for Dell. But then again, Dell actually hasn't been okay since, well, whoever. But the point I'm making is unions do work and they do hold people accountable, and that's exactly what we need. So if you're wondering, yes, I'm union. So if you don't have a union where you work, feel free to organize, because they can't stop you. At the same time, from my understanding, the Great Resignation is still going on. So again, for all those that are wondering why your stuff takes longer, because you told those same folks to go find a better job, and guess what? They did. But move right along, guys. We're going to go into our feel-good story, because usually how the Frack got here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom, sometimes make you lose your faith in humanity. But hey, it is Wednesday, which means tomorrow's Friday Eve, which means we're almost to this weekend, because I would rather want these temperatures to drop first. But again, I'm dealing with it. That being said, guys, we want to leave you guys out with some good vibes. And I think this next story about what an educator is doing to improve the lives of young women should be commended upon, because I have a soft spot for educators. And what this woman has done is everything short of amazing. And she should be given her flowers for it. Check it out.
That we're really excited about. A teacher, yes, who's made it her mission to school, from instilling the importance of self-worth and purpose to creating a safe space to open up and feel heard. Persephone DaCosta is the creator of the ROSE program, a leadership class that provides her students with the tools for a brighter future beyond the classroom. And looky, we got the teacher herself, Persephone, in the building with us. How are you doing? It's good to have you here.
I am great, thank you.
And you're not skipping school today, right?
No, I got permission.
You got permission to be here. The teacher had to get a note. I love that. Now, your program, the ROSE program, you decided you wanted to specifically focus on girls, and I was surprised. It makes sense, but you said there are more resources kind of to help boys, whether it's sports and other activities, and you wanted to focus on girls. So explain the program here.
Yes, so ROSE stands for Respectful Outstanding Sisters of Excellence. I'm at Khalil Gibran International Academy, and I started this program with Ms. Darlene Walker-Mungin. And so we noticed that there were young ladies that were getting into fights, they were getting into trouble in school. The school that we're in a Title I school where some students are in shelters. Students are coming in from different countries. Families are home, but they're here by themselves. And so we were noticing there's a need for them to get resources, to get help, just to have a sisterly bond, somebody to listen to them. And so that's how we created the program after seeing a lot of the incidents that was happening in our school.
What impact are you seeing with the program? I guess the before and after.
Yes.
You saw that happening, but what are the results you are seeing?
And they're building bonds. So we're teaching them skills like self-love, self-respect, communication. If we have an issue with someone, how do we talk about that? How do we talk to parents? Because it's not only in school. So we're dealing with parent issues, teenagers that want to be in relationships that aren't ready yet. And so how do we communicate that? How do we teach them how to love themselves first before they try to love someone else? And what I'm noticing is that, so they come back to us, they start to trust us. So they will come and say, Ms. P, I don't know what to do. We're trying to teach them, ask for help. My students are graduating. This year, all of my students are going off to college. And so, it's wonderful. And then they come back and, and they show us, I graduated. And, they're taking these skills on with them. So we are seeing positive results.
How long you been at it?
ROSE has been around for 10 years.
10 years.
And so I was at the forefront of it. So we're going into our 11th year next year.
Did you see her light up when you said, my students are graduating?
That's right.
See, look at that, still, she can't help it.
Some of them are first generation students that are graduating. I had one student this year who left her home country of Mexico, and she is the dream, the hope for the family. And she is to graduate, become a doctor, and then go back home.
That's wonderful. Well, Persephone, I think you just said Miss P is what they call
you.
Yes. But we reached out. Some of your students knew actually that you were going to be on GMA 3 today, and they had a message they wanted to give you. So take a look.
I just want to give a shout out to Miss P for being the best role model and a listening ear when needed. I am very grateful that I met you because I remember when I first moved here, I was very shy and you brought me out of my comfort zone.
Thank you for being a safe place where we get to be ourselves. Thank you for being that person we could come to confide in.
Thank you for having high expectations for me and thank you for never giving up on me. I love you so much.
We love you, Miss P.
There's Miss P. That smile of yours is infectious. Look at that. Let's keep that close up. No, but look, a lot of folks maybe around the country aren't familiar with, but we certainly are here. One of your students nominated you for the Frack Foundation Award, which it goes to one student in each, one teacher in each borough here, outstanding teacher. You were nominated. You hadn't heard back, but I am so pleased that I can tell you, you are the Frack Foundation recipient, the award recipient for this year. So congratulations to you. Yes, you know what that means. It is the Frack Foundation Award for Excellence in Teaching, and you are the winner from Brooklyn this year. I see your reaction.
Congratulations.
You knew you were nominated, but you hadn't heard anything.
I was nominated, and I was like, oh, I guess I didn't get it if I didn't hear anything.
Well,
and my daughters kept asking, Mommy, did you win? Mommy, did you win?
How long have you been waiting for word?
It's been a few months. They said in June.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
they said in June we'll hear, and I told them, I'm like, we're gonna do something fabulous if Mommy wins.
Okay, well, Mommy has won, and for your school, you all are getting a $10,000 grant for your school and your program. What are you going to be able to do with that?
Continue to do the work that I'm doing. These kids need artists to come in. So I'm a dancer. So I'm a dancer. I have my own company, Batinga Dance and Drum Productions. So we bring in cultural dance, African dancers, Caribbean dancers, and we give them a voice through dance and music. And so in addition to all the testing and the sitting down work they do in class, I'm going to bring in the arts into my school.
You already know what that money's spent.
Yes.
But I know you can do something with that, but it's not just for your school. As a part of the award as well, you are getting personally a check for $25,000 for you. That is going to you and the flag. They want, we got balloons. We don't. Come on, Miss B. Don't hide that smile now, Miss B.
Oh my God.
It is made out to you, Miss B. So I am the son of educators, and a lot of people around here know the heroes that you all are, teachers, and you don't get the credit you deserve. You don't get the pay you deserve. So hopefully that will help you out, and you're getting the recognition. I know it's going to help the school. So you give us the final words to send us off here.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the organization, because like I said, a lot of times we do a lot of work and it's because we love it. Yeah. But this just makes it, this just makes it that much more. And my kids, I promised them we're going on vacation. I said, if I win this, we're going on vacation. Because there's a lot of times where I have to put my students, and they're like, Mommy, you're not home. You love your kids more than you love us. And I'm like, no, guys, I'm doing this for you. So this is so important. Family time is so important. I'm about to go on summer break. This means so much to me. I just want to say thank you. And to my Khalil Gibran students, my Rose students, thank you so much. Everybody who supported me, I could not do this without my parents, my family, my partner, Anton Mitchell. I love you all. Jazzy, Ari, Trinity. Mommy's coming home and we are going away.
All right, Miss B. Congratulations. Where we going on vacation? Where are we going?
Well, I promised them Disney World.
All right. We know some people there.
They will hold me to it.
All right.
They've been asking me. Oh
Miss
my
B,
gosh,
congratulations. And to the flag founded. Thank you all so much.
I'm sorry, I'm not crying. You're crying. I got allergies. Literally, I got allergies. But that being said, that's the reason why I love educators. You just find those people who literally and figuratively love to teach, to care for the younger generation. And those are the folks I will always sit there and say they don't get paid enough. They don't get everything they should be getting. They deserve acknowledgement, flowers, and more. And happy to see that teacher actually get that recognition for what she does for students. So again, and also just for the cherry on top, I just like seeing Black people succeed. I am unapologetically Black. I want to see every Black person win, exceed, and excel. I have no qualms about saying that, and you can quote me on saying that because I'm never going to stop saying that. But that being said, that's going to do it for this podcast. Thank you all guys for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that. So shameless plugging before we do get out of here, guys. I do want to shout out my buddy who's been sneakily been trying some new stuff on Instagram. Definitely check him out. Avon Westwood on Facebook, BigVZA on all socials, where you can see all of his trailers and previous shows on Facebook and, of course, on all his socials at BigVZA. Definitely check him out. Aside from yours truly, guys, my handle, BlackBox447. You can definitely follow me there on Instagram because I do post reviews of movies, television shows, video games, and things of that nature. Gym stuff, too, because I do a couple push-ups. At the same time, guys, I do in this year want to be all about positivity, motivation, moving us forward. And I always say it best. I am rooting for everybody Black. I am wanting to see Black people succeed. I don't care if I know you, if you don't like me, if you are succeeding, I want to cheer for it because it just not only makes me feel good, but it motivates me and pushes me to do harder, to go more, to go harder, to do more, because that's what we should be doing as a people, pushing each other to be better. Because if you know better, then you do better. We all know the song. That being said, guys, before we get out of here, the ticker at the bottom, let me actually blow that up just a little bit. You copy and paste that into your browser, take to my link tree that has the YouTube and Facebook pages for all of my podcasts, How the Frack Got Here, Get Bit, and of course, the Offense Podcast. You can definitely check them all right there. Like, share, and subscribe. Let people know about it because I just want to grow these things into the trees that I know they can be. But I know I can't do this without you. I sound like a PBS thing, but hey, if PBS sponsors me, cool. That being said, before we get out of here, again, COVID is still a thing, guys. I know COVID hasn't been talked about in the news a lot. Monkeypox was a thing for a couple of weeks. We don't know what happened to the murder hornets. I guess they got to Wisconsin and got lost. Don't know. But again, guys, if you're going to heavy traffic areas, please wear a mask. Please be aware. Protect yourselves so we can protect others. Not only to get the numbers and cases down, but to give our hospital brethren, brothers and sisters a break. Because those nurses and doctors who have been in the hospitals working extremely long hours and have been pushed to the physical and mental limits, we appreciate you. We thank you for all that you do. The last thing I'll say about how we got here, guys, is all about staying informed. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply trying to give you all the information to be informed, but provide a logical perspective that goes along with it. We do a lot better in society once we're informed. We are basically progressive. We want to move forward. We want to change the rights. We want to change the rights by removing the wrongs, by making decisions now that should have been done back then, like pushing our first Black woman to Supreme Courts, like pushing our first Black woman to the Federal Board of Governors, like pushing our first woman to a leading commander role in the United States Navy. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's why we keep asking ourselves, why does everything go up by our paycheck, especially now? Why do we keep electing the same politicians but still the same old game? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. If you watch this one playback, please comment if it's live. I still want to know your opinions on everything we talked about. Aside from that, guys, take care of yourselves and each other. We will all get through this. Peace.